I'd like to call the Newman City Council regular meeting of February 28, 2012. City Council open the meeting. If everyone will stand and we will pledge allegiance to the flag. Ready, go. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Dear God, we thank you for bringing us here tonight. We ask that you watch over this great city of Newman. We ask that you give this council the wisdom and the guidance to make the right decisions for this city. And this we pray, amen.
Amen.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Hutchins.
Present.
Candia.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina.
Present.
Mayor King.
Okay, declaration of conflict of interest. Being none. Ceremonial matters. Presentation by Stan Cog regarding Unmet transit needs.
Sorry, 1 minute. Just getting this clicker to work. Alrighty. Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council, members of staff, and public. My name is Mike Costa. I'm with the Stanislaus Council of Governments. Thank you for having me here this evening. My transit manager, Rosa Park, is also with us this evening. And today I wanted to make a presentation on the process that we're currently conducting here for the Stanislaus County region, and basically an overview of who we are and why we're going through this process. So to start, we are the Stanislaus Council of Governments. We are a metropolitan planning organization and a regional transportation planning agency. The Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO designation, comes from the federal government, and our RTPA, or Regional Transportation Planning Agency status, comes from the state government. And we were formed in 1971 under a joint powers agreement between the 9 incorporated cities of Stanislaus County and the county itself. And our decision-making board, or our policy board, consists of the Board of Supervisors, each of them on our board, and also 3 representatives from the city of Modesto, and then 1 representative from every other city in our jurisdiction, including Mayor Caton is on our policy board as well. So kind of what we do for this region is we do assist local jurisdictions such as the city of Newman and other jurisdictions to fund, program, and implement their transportation and transit projects, mainly related to their highways, surface streets, air, rail, their pedestrian and bicycle projects, and also their public transit services. And as part of the implementation of public transit under the state law, or Transportation Development Act, and our designation as RTPA, we are essentially the managers of 2 funding sources that are distributed to the Stanislaus region. One of those sources is the State Transit Assistance Fund, which is derived from a statewide sales tax on gas and diesel, and the other is the Local Transportation Funds, or LTF, which is derived from a 1/4-cent statewide tax. And basically, why we're here this evening is related to this LTF funds, which under the Transportation Development Act, before, as part of our distribution of LTF to the region, all of the transit operators, which we currently have 5 in our region, including our CTSA, submit claims to StanCog for funds. Once those claims are fulfilled, or essentially once all the transit needs in this region are met, then whatever is remaining of LTF can be distributed to local jurisdictions for streets and roads. Before that process happens, we have to conduct what's called an annual Unmet Transit Needs Assessment, and that is why I'm here this evening. We are essentially in the process of conducting our Unmet Transit Needs Assessment, in which case we go out into the region, into the different jurisdictions, and we hold public hearings, and also go out to our service agencies and discuss among our subcommittee members of our StanCog agency whether or not there are unmet needs in our region and whether or not those needs are reasonable to meet. Now, our policy board, which again consists of representatives from each of our member agencies, determines what the definitions of unmet transit needs are and what reasonable to meet actually is. And once we go through this hearing process, which we're required to conduct at least 1 hearing, we analyze those unmet needs and whether or not they're reasonable to meet and prepare a report. Again, this is all done prior to that LTF being distributed to the local regions for other purposes such as streets and roads. Now, where we're at in this current year's process and why I'm here this evening is because we have already begun, actually it's kind of an ongoing basis every year, our Unmet Transit Needs Assessment process. We hold public hearings. We also identify potential unmet transit needs, which could be anything from fixed route services that are needed to paratransit services to door-to-door services, any services in the region that are currently not being met. And then we also define if they're reasonable to meet, and I'll go into that in a little more detail. Once we identify these needs and analyze whether it's not reasonable to meet, we prepare a report that moves forward, and then LTF can be distributed once all the needs are met for local streets and roads. Now, what is an unmet transit need? As I was saying earlier, we do have a process where we go first through identifying if there's any unmet transit needs in the local jurisdiction and in our region. Unmet transit needs cannot be anything that duplicates an existing service, and it cannot be anything that is needed for beyond the fiscal year of consideration. So right now, our unmet transit needs process is looking at fiscal year 12-13, which begins at the end of July of this year, and then goes forward. If we're looking at beyond that, that's not an unmet transit need beyond that fiscal year of consideration. Then, if it actually is an unmet need, if it doesn't duplicate an existing service, we have to analyze it for whether or not it's reasonable to meet. So reasonable to meet can be essentially any service that doesn't cause the system for which it's a service of to fail, or it has to meet a certain performance standard. 50% is according to our definitions, and these definitions are established by our policy board. The service has to be an eligible service for local transportation funds, and it cannot go beyond the year in consideration or exceed that 1 year of analysis that we're looking at. So where we're at in the process now is we have already conducted one public hearing for this unmet needs process at the StanCog Policy Board in November of last year. And what we're going to be doing is in this region, in the past, we have not come out to the west side of the county, and we have received some concerns through our member agencies, through our local service providers, and some of our social service agencies that there is a population out here that has unmet needs. So we would like to actually conduct, and we've already noticed it in the papers, conduct a public hearing in the city of Patterson for the entire west county of Stanislaus County. And that meeting is going to be held on Tuesday, March 13th, and it's going to start at 6 p.m. at the City of Patterson City Hall Council Chambers. We have noticed this hearing in the two local newspapers, the Westside Index, the Patterson Irrigator. We've also noticed this in the Modesto Bee and Vida en el Valle. And we are reaching out to all of our social service agencies and all of our committee members who provide services to this region to announce this hearing to their clients or their passengers so that we can get a sense of what those unmet needs are in this region of Stanislaus County. And with that, I will leave you with my information. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about this process and why we're here. Thank you.
I had a question on, do you do any surveys with the passengers that are actually being transported?
Typically, the surveys are done by the actual transit providers. So for this region, sometimes I know that this region is served by the START system, the Stanislaus Regional Transit. So they will do the surveys. I know that we are currently conducting a county-wide survey. We're in the preliminary phases of that survey. So that is, the details of that I'm not fully aware of because I'm not handling that directly. But yes, we do conduct some surveys, but the operators also conduct their own more specific detailed surveys.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I guess no other questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Right now, it's items from the public, non-agenda items. Okay, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Philbrook, and I am the branch manager of your Newman Library. and I wanted to take a moment to let you know about some programs that are available at the library in the coming month. Story time is coming back. We took the month of February off, and beginning March 1st, the first Wednesday in March, we will have story time every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Children ages 3 to 5 are welcome to come down to the library and listen to stories, as well as sing songs, dance, and generally be very silly. Our next Children's Craft Day, we have these on the first Tuesday of every month. The next one is on March 6th. We will be making toy puppet heads. I would like to specifically thank the Friends of the Newman Library for their support in providing for this particular program. Beginning March 3rd and running through the April 14th, we're having a special program that we do once a year called Cover to Cover. Any child who reads 5 books or has 5 books read to them will receive a certificate for a free In-N-Out hamburger or cheeseburger. You can earn up to 3 certificates or 3 hamburgers or cheeseburgers. These free programs are brought to you through the 1/8 cent sales tax that supports the library. Please stop in and visit anytime, and we look forward to seeing you down at the library.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Item 8, consent calendar. A, waive all readings of ordinance and resolutions except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of minutes of February 14th, 2012 regular meeting. D, adopt resolution number 2012, next number, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Newman serving as a successor agent to the former redevelopment agency of the City of Newman, approving and adopting initiative draft of the recognized obligation payment schedule pursuant to Health and Safety Code Section 341744L. E, adopt resolution number 2012, next number, a resolution approving the Main Street intersection rehabilitation program as complete and authorizing Ed Catons as mayor and Michael E. Holland as city clerk to record a notice of completion for the City of Newman Main Street intersection rehabilitation project. F, adopt resolution number 2012, next number, a resolution authorizing an application for a housing-related park grant. G, adopt resolution number 2012, next number, a resolution rejecting the claim of Henry E. Leon.
Make a motion that we approve this consent calendar as read.
I second that.
Motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Public hearing. There being none tonight? Okay. Number 10, regular meet, I'm sorry, you're already ready. Boy, she's sharp. Regular business. Consider for approval the Stanislaus County Annual Action Plan fiscal year 2012-2013, Consolidation Plan fiscal year 2012-2015, and open 30-day public comment period.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Before you is a request for consideration of the CDBG Consortia's fiscal year 12-13 annual action plan and fiscal year 12-15 consolidated plan. The annual action plan identifies each member city's upcoming year CDBG projects, and the consolidated plan typically outlines each member city's project for the next 3 to 5 years. In this particular case, and for technicality purposes, and I think to just get some little bit of cleanup with the consortia, we decided to do a 3-year consolidated plan. These plans are required by HUD in order to receive our annual CDBG funding. Therefore, staff recommends that the City Council consider approval of said plans, release said plans on March 2nd, that's when they will be available from the county for the required public comment period, and set a public hearing to bring back the plans for your formal approval on April 10th. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Stephanie?
Just, Steph, I noticed in our League of Cities meeting that the feds are looking at cutting the 2012-13 CDB budget quite a bit. Do you have any idea, or has anybody come up with any?
We had anticipated a 10 to 15% cut in our allocations, and I believe last week we had just gotten confirmation that it looks like some more solid numbers have come out, but they are reduced. Actually, that's been a trend for the last 2 to 3 years, about a 10 to 15% cut every year. We have actually outlined our annual action and consolidated plans with those cuts in mind. So we actually have drafted project plans that would be well within, hopefully, the anticipated
Based on
funding.
those parameters,
Mhm.
okay.
And we've
Thank you.
compounded the cuts, so that way, just to be worst case scenario.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Could I have some direction for the council, please?
I'll make a motion that we consider for approval the Stanislaus County Annual Action Plan fiscal year 2012-2013, the Consolidated Plan fiscal year 2012-2015, and open 30-day public comment period.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Let's see. These guys are quick. We got, okay. 10B, introduction of ordinance amendment authorizing administrative fines related to property maintenance and nuisance.
Evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Before you tonight, it is recommended that City Council introduce the first reading, a revision to an existing ordinance, which is 8.02, property maintenance and nuisances, and adding the option of administrative fine under section 8.02150, the violations and penalties. A little background, the City of Newman has an ordinance for property maintenance and nuisances under 8-02, which gives the details on each what the maintenance and the property upkeep should be. Under section 8.02150, it lists the violation. Currently, our violation is a misdemeanor. Misdemeanor offenses are generally prosecuted by the district attorney's office. So at this point in time, as we know the economy, we're not likely to get a district attorney to prosecute any of these cases, and we have no leg to stand on for misdemeanor offenses. So by adding an administrative fine for properties that we continue to see abatements that don't make it to you guys for abatement process, but we continue to have the same properties come up, we have to send them letters. With that, there's no fine or no penalty basically other than us sending them a letter before it gets to the abatement process. So by adding this fine system set by resolution, there would be something for the property owners to have to live by. There's some penalty for the upkeep of the property. Revenue generated by this would also stay locally. Although the fiscal impact would be positive, we cannot determine what the fiscal impact would be because we don't know how many citations we would issue. So in conclusion, staff recommends that City Council move forward for a public hearing at second reading at the next scheduled meeting. Staff believes that the option for administrative fine would help streamline the property abatement process by achieving better compliance during the abatement process. Also, administrative fine could serve as a deterrent for property owners to remain responsible and keep their properties in order. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Chief, how will we collect the fine?
It would be under the same process that all of our administrative fines. We send it and they have the option to come in and pay. It is, help me out here, do we add it to their water bill or are we sending them to collections?
There's two processes, administrative citations and there's administrative fines. We can look at both. One allows us to use liens on the property taxes as well.
Okay.
One of the things that the state authorizes us to fine them, for not the legal owners. But that sunsets at the end of this year. And so basically, I think in 08, I think they introduced a bill and it would pass that would allow us to fine the legal owners for not maintaining their property, which is that in conjunction with this ordinance, or would it be separate from this ordinance? Because it was an administrative fine that was set, and then that sunsets at the end of this year.
I'd say it's consistent with this ordinance, but that raised something I hadn't thought about, frankly, was the sunset on this.
And there's another bill up to extend it, but it hasn't been extended yet. I think Corbett's got a SB 708 has to extend that, but it does sunset for the administrative fines. And so that was one of the reasons I was wondering whether it would create a problem with ours.
Yeah, Councilman, I think a lot of that was specifically directed more towards the abandoned and foreclosed property issues that were arising in the state level. By us declaring this a public nuisance, I think this is a still more of a local issue and allow us to impose fines that way.
I think that there would be that overlap with the ones that are abandoned. So I'm gonna look that up, frankly. It's nothing, it's no problem going forward with it now. It doesn't hurt anything, but I just I want to avoid a problem of having that.
Well, the only thing I worry about is, you know, they took away our administrative fines for a lot of stuff, and we don't want to come up 2013 and all of a sudden they're doing the same thing again. If there's any way we can solidify it and make sure that that doesn't happen to it.
I will look into that, thank you.
State's good at that, huh? Any further questions?
I just concur with what the chief said too, that the courts hate this stuff anyway, and especially now. It's hard to get an inspection warrant for some of these really bad houses. So something like this won't see the light of day, probably from the DA's office.
Well, I thought they were making the city attorneys.
Chief, one question. Would there be a schedule of the fines, a schedule for the fines that would be?
There will be. It'll be set by resolution before you guys will set the resolution of the fine schedule.
It'll be added to the, like Michael said, our other administrative fines.
Yes, we already have a schedule of fines through this process. This would be an addition that we'll have to bring back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
So do we need to make a
Motion to introduce.
motion? I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance amendment authorizing administrative fines related to property maintenance and nuisances.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. C, adopt resolution number 2012, next number, a resolution awarding the audit services contract to Clemden Bird and Company, PC, and authorizing the city manager to sign said agreement.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the Newman City Council. 6 years ago, the City Council approved Clemden Bird and Company to perform annual audits of the City of Newman. Last year, with the approval of Council, we renewed the contract with Clemden Bird for 1 additional year. Since the Finance Department was converting its software, we felt it prudent to have a firm that was familiar with our city audit the financials during and after the conversion, with the caveat that this year we would put out a request for proposal. On December 1st, the requests for proposals were mailed out. From December 1st through the January 31st of this year, we received 3 emails with questions regarding our prior year's audits and wanting copies of our financials. We received various phone calls requesting information. We received 2 decline letters stating that they have no room in their schedule, and 1 stating that they don't do government audits anymore, only actuarial studies. There was 1 additional firm that sent a letter last June asking to be put on the list of candidates, but by December that firm had been acquired, changed staff, and was no longer a qualified government auditor. In the end, we received 3 proposals. These proposals were similar in scope and how they would perform their audit: reviewing of revenues and expenditures, interviewing personnel, time spent in our office looking at actual documents. When selecting an audit firm, the Government Finance Officers Association recommends that audit contracts be awarded for a minimum of 5 years, then undertake a competitive bid process again. The current audit firm can be included and awarded the contract again if their performance in prior years has been satisfactory. I believe that Clemden Bird and Company has been performing a detailed, thorough audit of our financials. Staff recommends that we award the contract to Clemden Bird and Company. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
No question. Thank you, Lou.
So just need a approval.
I'll make a motion we adopt resolution number 2012, next number, a resolution awarding the audit services contract to Clemden Bird and Company, PC, and authorizing the city manager to sign said agreement.
I'll second that motion.
Motion is made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
carried. Thank you. Thank you, Lou.
I stopped and I didn't know.
Moving right along. Items from District 5, Stanislaus County Supervisor Jim DiMartini.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Martina and council members. I just had a few things tonight. Mostly the Healthcare Task Force will be meeting here in Newman at our next meeting on March 22nd. I hope the room is secured all right. And I have met with an attorney who works for Stan Sarah, working on a nonprofit status for the Healthcare Task Force. Since we've taken in public money and private money, and we are been going now 3 years, in order to get grant money to continue doing some programs for youth, it was the board had decided last time it was best to do nonprofit status. So there's a fair amount of paperwork involved in doing something like that. Fortunately, I found an attorney that would do it for free. There's a little bit of accounting work, so at the next meeting I'll go over where I am on that. It's going to take a couple of months to get this done, though. And then on the health side of the programs, the hikes and bikes start this week. I believe the 3rd is through the Patterson Parks and Recreation. They start in. There's a schedule already published, and it will be advertised in the Index and in the Irrigator. And as of this time, the Health Summit is tentatively scheduled for August 23rd, assuming that the theater, I don't know if anybody had checked, but that's kind of the tentative date for it. And what happened last year, for those of you who remember, we had that health summit on the same day 2 of the school districts started, and it created a lot of chaos for the school districts to get their teams there for the weigh-in. So I've checked with all 3 school districts, and there's only one of them that's going to meet next week. I forget which one it is, to actually set their date of opening. But it looks like they intend to start around the week of the 15th. So I thought the 23rd would probably be a good time to start. But as soon as the last school district sets their opening of the school day, then we'll know for sure, so we don't have that conflict next year. And then the last thing is the Orestama flood project. We had a meeting here at the council chambers. I thought it went pretty well, although this project's been going on for a long time. But we finally, through Dennis Cardoza, do have the money to finish the feasibility study, the best I can tell. Although we've heard that before, but I think this may be it. And if we can get that done, get the chief's report, then we can go on to design. So it was a good meeting. We hadn't had one for a while, so I thought this one went fairly well. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Supervisor. Items from the city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. As you know, with the AB 1X26, there's an oversight board that has to be put into place, and there's a lot of appointees that come from different areas. Those appointees are starting to show up. The YCCD, which is the Yosemite Community College District, has appointed the district trustee, Miss Ann DiMartini. She'll be sitting on the board here for hours. The largest special district, taxing district within our area, within the RDA, is a Turlock Mosquito Abatement District, and Mr. Kern Honeywell will be sitting on the RDA as well. The County Board of Education appoints somebody, and it's my understanding at this time that they're going to appoint Superintendent Felt to sit on that as well. So, those names are starting to come forward. The mayor has an appointment. There's an employee of the largest bargaining group that needs to be placed on that. Supervisor DiMartini will sit on that. I know the governor appoints somebody. So there's some more that's going to start coming forward to you in the next month or two. All that has to be in place by, I believe, May. May 1st. Yeah. So probably the next couple of meetings we'll start bringing some names forward for you to consider and to appoint. Tomorrow night, which is Leap Day, at 6 p.m., we will be having the Kowalski Centennial Planning Committee meeting in this building, 6 p.m. So we'll be looking for a chairman. Yeah, we're practicing. We'll be looking for a chairman, and then just to kind of, again, kick things off and have some good conversation. March 24th, Chamber Dinner Dance, just to remind you on that. Our deputy clerk has asked me to remind you, if you have not considered filling out your Form 700, we would appreciate you considering that and getting those back in. They need to be into our office, and so we can send them off by March 19th. You know, that's not a city thing, that's an individual council member thing, so we'll be happy to help you in any way we can, but ultimately, you know, you're the one that has to feel the ramifications of that group that wants those, so we as staff have to fill them out as well. Last week, we were contacted by a TV production called Today in America, and if you wanted to go to their website, it's www.todayinamericatv.com. It's a show that's hosted by and Terry Bradshaw. What they do is they just do small, unique communities throughout the United States, as well as businesses and a few other things in there. They asked that the mayor and I have a conversation with one of their low-level producers just to discuss our community. We hit their radar. So we had that discussion, and so they're going to be sending us some information, and then maybe in the first meeting in March we can come back to you with a little bit more information on that, because we're going to do another phone call tomorrow with them. So you can check on their website. Lots of times they do little 5-minute clips. They'll come out and do a full segment and shots and stuff like that. I'm sure Mr. Bradshaw doesn't come out; he just narrates from the studio, but they'll come out and interview people. They'll do highlights of your community. Really, they call them live, work, and play type communities that they're looking at. That kind of out of the way type places. So we're up for consideration on that, and more information will be forthcoming. Union negotiations have started. We've already met with the POA twice, and then we'll be meeting with Miscellaneous on Thursday. So. Each of those contracts does expire in June 30th of this year. And that's all that I have. Can I answer any questions that you may have for me?
I just had one, Michael. The timeline for the new city hall, are we still online?
Still on schedule. We are meeting every week. In fact, our Public Works Director, Mr. Reynolds, will be giving you an update shortly on where we're at on that. But at this current time, we are planning right now to close our city hall at the close of business on March 29th, which is a Thursday. We'll be closed March 30th. Then you have the weekend. Then we'll be closed on Monday, which is April 3rd or 2nd, April 2nd. And then we'll reopen at our new building on Tuesday, which is April 3rd. That's the current schedule that we have right now. And all the members of staff are pretty confident that we can meet that. A lot of the issues and the reason we picked Monday as well is a training day. We'll have a new phone system in, and there's going to be kinks, there's going to be bugs, but we think we can get a lot of those out on Monday and then open on Tuesday and just kind of keep working our way through. So that's where we're at with that. And again, Mr. Reynolds will update you shortly on what else that we have going on over there.
Thank you, Michael. Any other questions of Michael?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Before I get into the City Hall move, I just had a couple housekeeping items. I don't know if you noticed downtown, we've taken out a few of the trees in the downtown district. Those are due to the sidewalks being raised. We're developing a plan to evaluate the sidewalks and the trees and which ones are hazards and need to be removed. And we're going to present that plan to our staff and then make determinations on which ones are the most critical. And over the next few years, we'll transition to taking some of the older trees out that are hazards and the tripping hazards of the sidewalks and get those repaired over the next 2 to 3 years. So just so you know, and the tree right there at the corner in front of JJ's, the reason that one has not been replaced quickly was we were waiting on PG&E for over 2 weeks to give us a location on an electrical line. Fortunately, it was out of the way, but we wanted to wait and make sure. That's why that one took quite a while to get replaced. So it'll be replaced by the end of the week. We've been enjoying some really nice spring weather lately, so I'd like to remind everybody that that will unfortunately cause more people to do more outdoor watering sooner. Don't water unless you absolutely have to. Water's precious, and I think this year we're looking more towards a severe drought situation this year and possibly even next year. So So I'd encourage those unless you really, really need a super green lawn, don't do any outdoor watering unless you have to. The City Hall move. An update on City Hall move. We have all the walls are constructed. Most of the new doors are in with the security hardware coming in next on top of that. The alarm system's moving in. The IT's coming in. All the carpet has been laid. We have a few cleanup items on the carpet. We're probably 85% there, ready as far as ready to be moved in. We still need to finish the front doors. Those are the last items on that part of it, and the tile downstairs that leads into the elevator room. We're almost there. Another 2 weeks, I think the building will be wrapped up. Then it's going to be all the little items that we hadn't really thought about. We still have some signs that have to go in, and the new City Hall sign. The finance director's working on that, the blinds to go into the building. But all of the big items are fairly well completed, and we're on time, and we think we're very well hitting our marks on our budget as well. City manager said we are meeting weekly on this to ensure that we're on track and meeting that. I don't think there's any other big items that we have left outstanding on the building.
Probably end of next week, furniture. Right after that, the casework will come in. And so there it's really just about getting the phone systems in at that point in time, getting the IT guy to get in there and do a few other things. So, but everything's wrapping up nicely.
We have 3 contractors at one time working in there, and they're all working really well together. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Sounds exciting.
It's busy. It's good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just wanted to bring up our EECVG project. As you may or may not have noticed, if you're going down Highway 33, especially this intersection right here is nice and bright. Appears that the contractor recently put in those new lights. We've been noticing some LEDs being put up along Driscoll and in some of the subdivisions there. We were lucky enough to have about 100 lights through this project, and there's a potential for some additional funding that may be coming from the state. So any lights we can replace, we'll be continuing to do so, and just wanted to let everybody know about these new lights because we're really excited. It'll save the city money, save the taxpayers money, and it's a nicer light. You know, it's a lot brighter. So just wanted to let you know.
That's great.
Evening again. We begin our lengthy presentation. I'll be real brief.
No, take your time because financially we're doing good. I want to hear it.
We are. Tonight we're just going to do a brief review of the Finance Department's activities for 2011. Just to kind of bring up to speed, we're 4 full-time and 1 part-time people. We service the population of the city, about 10,505 residents. We have 3,078 utility accounts as of December, which is up 40 from the prior year. We have 33 funds with varying revenue streams and expenditure regulation requirements. 970 different fund, department, and account combinations. What that means is whenever we receive a payment from somebody or we create a check or post an invoice, our department has to know which one of those accounts it's got to go into. We have 7 bank accounts with checking, investments, and bond reserve. Last year, we processed 36,795 utility bills, 4,169 late notices, 712 utility starts, and 644 stops, 502 iWork reports. We processed during a 6-month period 21,787 payments. Ends up being about 43,500 a year. Of those, 1,833 payments were via credit card, or about 3,600 throughout the year. In addition to utilities, we also processed 1,779 accounts payable checks, 1,156 payroll checks, 962 yard permits were issued, 102 park rentals, 73 memorial building rentals, 127 business licenses, 664 account receivable invoices were generated. We performed various reports to outside agencies, and in the end, we received the highest marks from our auditors, with no issues cited on either our procedures or on our data. Last year we had 4 goals. The major one was migrating our finances to Springbrook. We ended up moving 3 years of utility billing data, which were meter reads, billing, payments, etc. Equivalent of 108 megabytes of data, which is about 108 500-page books. And we reconciled to the penny when we were done. We also had the goal to find lower interest rates on our outstanding debt. We refinanced our wastewater treatment bonds from 4.9 to 5.3 down to 3.9% for the remainder of the loan, and will finish a year earlier. We ended up reducing our interest expense over the next 8 years by $258,000. Our other goal was to improve our investment returns. We added Chandler Asset Management with the approval of council. They earned us 3.08% on our invested returns over the 12-month period. Leif earned us 0.44. We brought in $146,842 in interest income from all our investments during 2011. Our last goal was our online utility account access and bill pay services. We currently have researched 2 companies that provide the service to us, Springbrook and Paymentus Corporation. It looks like we're leaning towards Springbrook, one for the security and the other is for their instant access to the data. With Paymentus, we would have to upload and download files back and forth every day from their website to our software in order to keep it updated. Springbrook would be real-time software. We're working out the details on the contract, and we're also trying to verify any potential security issues. We don't want to implement anything if our residents are going to be at risk. Our goals for 2012. One is to implement the online utility account access and bill pay services by the second half of the year. The other is cross-training our staff. Currently, our staff is pretty well versed on each of their individual responsibilities. Now we're training each other, so in case one of us is sick or is out, we're able to cover. Our last is to create a step-by-step procedures manuals for performing each of the major functions in our department. Our software does provide us instructions on how to perform under certain modules, but because of the nature of our city, every city is a little bit different, and we want step-by-step procedures so that if a person leaves, gets a job elsewhere, we can take somebody, hand them a manual, and they can step right in and take over without any problems. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. That concludes the presentation.
Just one quick question, Lou. Do we have any more money we can put into Chandler to take it out of Leif?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, currently we started with $5 million with Chandler and $8 million in Leif is where we're at. But with that being said, we're still 10% of Chandler, so I don't know how much more you want to go. I wouldn't recommend going over another $1 or $2 million if we wanted to get it up there. So, but that's something we can bring back. We could balance it out at 50%
split, something like that.
50-50 split would be probably the max I would recommend at this time. So, but if you'd like, if the council concurs, let us evaluate that for you and look at the pros and cons and maybe bring that back. If we bring it back, though, it probably won't happen until after April because we'd like to get that move kind of settled in, and then and that gives us a little bit extra time to really evaluate that, and then we'll bring it back to you. So maybe late spring. We'll bring that back.
Very good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for a great report, too.
You're welcome.
Yeah. We're financially sound. And the mayor just walked in. Okay, where are we at? Any other staff members? Make a presentation. Here's your chance. Okay, items from city council members.
Just one quick thing. As you know, I'm a member of the League of Cities Housing and Community Development. I'm going to be meeting with Stephanie before our next statewide meeting, and I'm also going to meet with the county so that we can take our questions that we have, because the last meeting I attended, they seemed to push toward the very big areas and kind of the smaller areas get left out. So I want to make sure that any of our concerns are met. So I'm going to be meeting with Stephanie and then also with the county on that. That's all I have.
Very good, thank you, Don.
I don't have anything tonight.
Nothing tonight.
And I have nothing. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Yeah.